Peace. Okay. Peace, peace. Who's out there? Who's out there? For those who are waiting, I wrote it in the summary. I will be back at a law school in Mecca regularly. Mecca Bees Media. Who's that? Mecca Bees Media. Okay. But I will be back October 7th, teaching from 5 to 8. If there are no physical students in the classroom by 7 o'clock, then I will stop the class. I will go home. The extra third hour, I will be making a special plus lesson build. I will take out one of my plus lessons or a specific topic that I have, and I will build on it. Okay? All right. I'm missing something. I gotta get it. All right. So, like I said, I'm going to be back at a law school in Mecca Thursday, October 7th. Okay? If students, no new students, or regular, if humans don't arrive into the classroom by 7 o'clock, then I will stop the class. I will go home, and there is an extra hour. That I will do online only between that time and the next class. So I don't know what day it'll be, just when I have time. And that way I can go very concentrated on some specific lesson or build or question that anybody has, okay? And just be more useful, okay? Because it allows my travel to be easier. It allows me to do more work in this way, you know what I mean? I'm teaching the class a little earlier for my own travel, my own reasons, but also that is doubly advantageous, I think, because if I teach a little bit earlier, hopefully I could get more people from the community to be open to come in and have the school more active. And as we get into the colder months, those earlier hours. Also, too, I don't know how things are becoming restricted for people, with the mandates of vaccine mandates and stuff like that. You know what I mean? A lot of the places that I technically, as one who isn't vaccinated, aren't allowed to go to. It's not really bothering me though, because I could give a damn. But to make things easier, okay. All right, Mecca Bees Media. Tell me who you are. Born Reality is. Okay. Quatis, peace. Shakim, peace. Malik, peace of the God. Substance 810, peace, God. 793rd, peace. Okay. All right, well, people are here. Is this the Born Reality who I have not spoken to and who had his own journey to deal with that I left stranded, it seems? Right? Sometimes I like people to go through hell on their own. It's good. It's good. I don't want anyone using my invisible hand to guide them through anything. Okay? All right. I have a lot of students. I have a lot of younger students as well as older students. You older students, I expect you to be right and exact. I expect you to know what you're supposed to do in there. In this classroom, if you're going to attend, you have to look at this classroom here, whether you are online or you are in, and certainly if you're in my classroom, that you are ready with questions. If you're a regular, if you regularly come, you're ready with questions. That you're ready to build on the day's mathematics, that you're ready to build on any of the degrees that you say you know. And that means that the degrees that you say you know, you can quote. And if you don't understand them, then you can ask questions about it. But then also, not only ask questions about it, but also define and help define what it is that you don't know about it. Okay? This is how you should be looking at things. You need to start, everyone needs to start developing their ability to develop questions. And that's okay, Mecca Beast Media. I thought you were the another born reality. Okay. All right. Well, you're new to me. So you let me know who you are, though. You engage as much. The more that you engage, the more that I can engage with you. Okay. Don't think that someone that knows things, if it is me or anyone else, so will magically tell you what you need to know or what you've always wanted to know just because you tuned in. Okay. All right. Now, seven supreme peace. Um, So if there any everyone that's already commented here, if they have any questions, right? Any details? Yes, Malik. Yeah. It took me some time. Um, so someone now, let me tell you why it took me some time. Right now in these years, since last year, I'm trying to develop all of the skills that I have into making businesses out of all of them. But I am not good at one thing, and one thing isn't going to get me the fiscal reality that I need. You know what I'm saying? Okay, Queen City, Charlotte. Okay, interesting. Mm-hmm. So, Quatis, I'm going to read that in a little bit. That build on today's math. Um, so that means I'm working on books. That means I'm working on teaching. Not only am I going to have, as soon as I set them up, not only am I going to have martial arts training that is available live and also via Zoom, which I already have. Okay, so if any, I'll go into that in a little bit. I'm also going to be having, more books out, and one of those books is going to include something that is for the Peace course. Okay, if you're a regular student of mine, know that you pretty much are going to get the book, half off. And really, you're just helping me pay for the publication of the book. But there's a book that anyone can read. It's going to have a lot of insights that'll be useful, but it's really builds that I have off the concepts that I've been living and things like that. So, but that's a book that I'm working on to come out next year. Hopefully very early. But there'll be a lot of books about a lot of different topics. So it's really just consolidating all the things. For those that know, I also do editing services and whether it's publications, writing, or any kind. So it's a lot of things that I'm trying to juggle. So if I don't get back to your email immediately, I'm always having to reshuffle, reschedule things really well. You know what I'm saying? And so it's been very fruitful. You know what I mean? Before we continue, I am offering martial arts training sessions. Now, this is different. This is an entire lifestyle. The health protocols that I'm teaching in this classroom to you and that you ask questions about, that is something that is free to all of you students. So if you email me and you're trying to get more healthy with your diet, don't know how to do it, need the protocols I give and everything like that, that is free to you. That is part of this class, though. Martial arts is different. It is for someone that is athletically and willing and able to sacrifice. Okay, and it takes a lot of time for me to teach that. So I need compensation. For those that are actually, there's some gods training with me. For those that actually know my rates, though, they know that it's an incredible rate. Okay, and it's an incredible rate. So to give you what you need, you know what I'm saying? This martial arts training session that I offer, I call it concentrated supremacy. It's to make you either a living martial artist and certainly one that is able to adapt to other schools of thought. So if you decide to go into another school, it's not going to conflict. And I keep it real. If it conflicts, it's because you just found a school that is teaching incorrectly. Okay. When I teach students martial arts, so they get an entire protocol of health, the type of books to read, all those kind of things. That all comes with it. All right. All right, let me go through these questions. So anyway, let me write the email here for any students that are new to this classroom. It's free to the public. It's former law school in Mecca. I have been teaching since 2000 to the year 2000, around April 2000. Okay. It's the longest running course in the history of a law school in Mecca. Okay. Because of this stupid ass COVID and all the reality of it, though, I haven't been able to go back. But now I will be able to. And this last extension of me not teaching at the school directly is really because of what I've been trying to adjust in my own personal life and using the advantage of the stream, though, to get quality classes out still. However, if you're interested in anything, if you want to be a student in this classroom of me, you are not my student if you just watch my videos. Okay, you are not my student if you watch my videos. You're my student if you engage me, willing to engage me, have the desire to be my student and engage me beyond this classroom setting. And that goes for people in the physical as well. Okay, because y'all sat in my class doesn't mean that I am your teacher in this knowledge of self. It means I taught you stuff. Okay, I teach a lot of people things. Okay. Let me look at the question, some of the comments here. Quartis, you said wisdom understanding. Today's the 23rd. All being born, the power refinement testing. You took testing as two out ideas, approaches to uncover, right? Understanding. Okay, uncover is understanding. Their significance is to see how I can strengthen. 5. Power, my own focus of learning and discovering opportunities to develop and create the type of experience I want to have and share. These are really good, Quartis. What I would love you to do is, I always keep telling you, is to give for yourself, not necessarily for me, particular examples. Particular examples where that has happened successfully, where that might have happened unsuccessfully. And so you could see the details, like when math is wrong, how? When math works out, why did it work out? Okay. And you could really test to see if this is a correct concept. Okay. Not just a concept that you're fitting in. Okay. The good stuff. When we look at wisdom, the usefulness of knowledge, the using of knowledge, that's really the testing. It's an excellent word because it's a testing. Not all knowledge is actually applicable at certain moments. So when you take knowledge into wisdom, that's the point. It's only useful to you completely useful when it borns an understanding and it's going to be lived out as your culture. See? So it's a good point. Light, visible, peace. That's peace, Malika. Mecca Bees Media, you said ebooks. I'm assuming that you were asking me if ebooks are a must. In this classroom, when you contact me, when you email me, there are lots of books I give. And from my own personal digital library, that's over 4,000 books. Okay? So I expect a lot of reading. Okay? The truth is that if we're going to be who we are, the true and living gods, there has to be a lot of reading, a lot of learning. And whether we like reading or not, though, we have to be consistent with it. Okay? Knowledge 7 Supreme. Peace. You said any techniques you recommend to help get 120 on cap. One of the best ways to memorize anything, okay, especially 120, is the repetitive process of challenging short-term memory to long-term memory. Okay, so with each degree, you use a pile-on. So if you have 4 degrees memorized and you're working on the 5th one, you start memorizing the 5th one. Maybe you do a sentence or two, the question and the first sentence of the answer, and you get it so you can quote it. You keep repeating it so you can quote it at the top of the day. Then what you do is that you wait, you live your day, and then at a certain moment, opportunity, you quote everything that you already had on cap, right? In this case, the 4 degrees, right? Or if it was just 1 degree, you could do math, alphabet, all of that, right? So you could do the 4 degrees, math, alphabet, and the 4 degrees. And when you get up to here, if you still can remember the first question and the answer, like the first sentence of the answer, what we said, then now you have successfully started to get that degree into long-term memory. Okay. So it's really about short-term memory and long-term memory. Then there's the value concept. Okay. The degrees also over time, though, will be forgotten because they don't have a value. So you have to constantly go back into them and say, what do they mean to you? And if they don't mean anything to you, why? Like, what type of questions can you develop out of it? Okay. Maccabees, why is truth power? Okay, why is truth power? That's an assumption. Knowledge is truth, right? Someone's understanding is based on knowledge, so it's a truth. When one's culture is basically lived understanding based on knowledge and wisdom, that is truth. When one deals with equality, that's truth. All the degrees are truth. So why is power the truth? Right. So the memorization techniques, right, are very crucial in 120 after you go through that first long-term to short memory exercises, but also over the life that you live, is finding some type of value to it. Okay, some type of value to it. In the value of it is either that there is something that you don't know about it, that there is something you don't like about it, that you don't value it. Some degrees I started to memorize better because I said to myself, I really don't like this degree. It doesn't give me that much. And for some reason that worked and it helped me memorize it, though, because it kind of made me, it actually, in this case, though, gave me an emotional cue on the degree. But how you assign the value of it based on what you understand, if it is useful to you in life, all of that counts, though. So your own understanding of the degree, your special understanding, not the rote memory understanding that people have of degrees, or that is correct, that you all learn and that is passed down maybe from me and others. But actually what you get out of it, your unique understanding, that is going to be crucial. Okay. That is going to be crucial. All right. And that's why the journal writing is also good, though. You know, look, two things you can always write in your journal that you should be doing. You guys should have some type of training session of how you work out. You should be writing about that. That'll help you do it. It'll help you test, though. Right? Now you have something to start writing in your journal. You should be writing about the day that you live, but you should also be writing about the degrees you're dealing with. If you have an understanding, write it down in that book. It'll help you memorize it. The books that you read, write about the insights that you get out of it, that you've tagged, and go back to it and highlighted and write about them. Don't disrespect your understanding by not thinking that it needs to be cataloged and written. Okay? It actually helps you memorize your understanding. Okay? And you don't always have the opportunity to just babble what you think is an understanding and try it out on everybody. You know? All right. You're welcome, Mecca. Let me know about my challenge to you about power being the truth. That's a saying that people say, you know. I don't really like it. I think it's very, it's too generic to have a reality with me. Okay. Quartis, you said, what do I'm assuming me, enjoy most reading? What do you enjoy most reading? Do you read novels or comics or sorted industry journals? How do you discover things you need to learn? Curiosity, necessity, or otherwise. There's very little that I read that is that I think is not useful to me. You know, what I enjoy reading the most probably is I love reading biographies of musician biographies. In general, biographies. I love reading biographies, people's lives and stuff. Very intriguing. I love reading ancient philosophy texts, history books. You know, because those are stories. Those are stories. You know, but I try to read I try to read something of everything. So I'm always shifting to make sure I read diversity of everything. Probably the only thing I don't read diverse wise is comics. It just doesn't fit like my phone and things like that. You know what I mean? But I do read novels. I'm actually a slow novel reader. It's the type of book I read slowest. The type of books and as far as creative works, I read a lot of. I love reading poetry books. Like I'm reading right now. I'm reading the collected works, the collected poetry, the complete collected poetry of Maya Angelou, and a lot of her poems are incredible. You know, incredible. She has so many techniques. You know, her vocabulary is extremely high, and she manipulates the use of words. You know what I mean? To give them double meaning. And I just love that technique though. It's a very hip hop technique. It's something I do a lot too. You know what I mean? And her ability is extreme because she has such a great vocabulary. You know what I mean? As far as other things, I really don't. How do I discover the things I need to learn? I'm always shifting through books. I'm always going. I treat Amazon and other places and the internet like a library, and I just keep sifting through topics and looking for books and then finding them if I can find them. And then and then I listen to people that have a lot of knowledge. You know what I'm saying? And I go with their sources as well. You know. Peace, life visible. Appreciate that. All right, supreme freedom, peace. Let me know. Nobody's writing their builds. Why's you? Where's your build? Where's your build on Supreme Math? Where's your build on the? Okay, let's see. How does preparedness compare to understanding? Here's why. Right? You may not know what you're preparing for. Okay. So what you're preparing though is a general. You could be generally preparing. So I read about all, let's say, for example, I read about all types of subjects and I deliberately vary it. So I look through to see if I'm getting a complete, I try to make my reading at any moment as complete as possible. So I shift from many different topics. Um, that doesn't always lead to understanding because you might not know when and how to use it. It just be an accumulation of knowledge, right? It may not be used. It might just be there for reference, though. But eventually, it does work, though. So they're certainly related. You said, is preparedness just a beginning stage of understanding? Yeah, it's a necessary stage. Yeah, as if understanding were a glass to be filled and preparedness were the first portion poured into that glass, or is it at the latter stage? Um, it's at all the stages because I think that anytime you're doing the knowledge specifically to say that you will learn and grow, then you are preparing for something. Okay, and you are preparing for something, right? Mecca bees, you said peace, God. I was driving. That's okay. I say truth is power because I have been a liar and know what comes from the consequences of the truth of the lie being revealed. Hence, when I tell the truth, I hide nothing. Right. That's very anecdotal, though, meaning it's about you. Okay. Let me continue here. You say to have the confidence of no thing or no one being able to destroy what you set forth gives you power. Yes, all that you mentioned is correct as well. That's why I see God. That's peace. You know what I mean? That's peace. Um, Give me a moment here. Sorry about that. That was my daughter. You know, I have a thought here, right? Where one thing to help, right? We say wisdom, understanding, right? The wisdom you have, in other words, the knowledge that you were using for understanding, the knowledge that the everything that you're using, right, coupled with the understanding that you already have, is what develops your power. In other words, it adds on as fuel to the power that you continue to generate. That particular wisdom, though, right, needs to be your work in not being biased and taking away your personal element from things. You know what I mean? Because what you said, Maccabees, is fine. It's not technically incorrect, right? It's the beginnings of understanding, because our understanding as creators in this universe, creators of the universe, inside of our own creation, that's what we are, is based on our own personal reality. Okay? However, things have to be proven outside of our personal reality to give them a universal truth, to become a universal truth. You know what I mean? And that's why I say, when we say things like truth, power is the truth, that's a generalization, though. It doesn't, it very rarely gives people an answer, and it assumes, and I think it assumes that the truth is a tool of influence. Like that's its major function, as a tool of influence. And that's one of the problems I have, though. I don't see that as its major reality. That truth is a tool of influence. And that's what happens when you isolate it as it powers the truth. You see? To me, the truth, if we were to isolate it on a degree, is just knowledge. It just is. You see? So be careful about how we define things, how we live them, which are valid, and how we universally align them, because the truth is basically in everything. We could also argue that what is born is the truth. See? Right. And again, I'm harping on this. You said, Maccabees, when we look at the power degree in the 1 to 14, Jesus was known to speak truth to power. That phrase, truth to power, we didn't make that phrase. That's not a phrase from the gods and earths. Okay? That's not a phrase from the gods and earths. That actually is a phrase from the NOI listening to us build. Okay? And when someone says they speak truth to power, that literally means that power is not the truth. They're speaking truth to power. Okay? They're speaking it to have power. So it's a little different. I think this, right? The truth is in all the degrees in the mathematics. So when we generalize a general concept like that, we're focusing on that. And I don't see that, because wasn't what Jesus was teaching a new way of life? So we could also argue that his truth was the culture. The Father was teaching naturally. He's the first one to make it natural, the way of life of being the true and living God. And so we could say that the truth was the culture. It wasn't the power, actually. The truth was just the culture being lived, because he never had to push the truth out there. He never took a podium. He never took a microphone. He never did any of those things. Things that were actually very common in Harlem in 1960s for many of the revolutionary groups, righteously, militantly, intellectually, spiritually, or otherwise, right? What I'm saying is that a general term, it is very, it's almost becomes moot to use it that. You know what I mean? Be very careful. Be very careful with that. Because what happens is this, right? And this is what I'm telling you. Be very careful of that, because then what happens is that you define truth as things that are only powerful. And I'm telling you, as a writer, though, I have written things that have been true and not had any power with them until years later. You see? I have written down things that people would not bear witness to that have been bared witness to later, years down the line. So you could say at the point of writing, when we take things as a point of time, that for the point that I wrote it and that moment that I wrote it and shared it and that it was out there, for the times that it needed to be out there, for much of that time, wasn't much power in the truth. And then it's all relative to time is what I'm saying, right? And the fact that truth is a reality of all the degrees are based on truth, you know? And I don't like defining things by the action, by that action alone, because you have the stages. 1, 2, 3. This is how I teach it. 1, 2, 3. Knowledge, wisdom, understanding is the mental processes, the inner. Okay. 4, 5, 6 is the outer. In other words, once you live out your understanding as a culture, those the things you create, the way that you express yourself, what you express is impacting people. It is out there. It is out there. That's the culture. You have to live it outwardly. It is out there. And that power degree in there is literally the wisdom of that set. The 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, that's the second one. You see? So that's the wisdoming of that. You see? So that's not exactly what it is. It's basically how it's being used. What is the culture, how it's being used, how it goes out there. That equality, though, is the balance that it brings in the proper position that is now seen once that reality of culture lived is out there. By this type of build, equality could be as the truth. And then when I say that the 7, 8, 9, right, is the fruit of it all, then we could say that that is the truth. Because what I like to call the rejuvenation of reaffirmation, because you're already the true and living God, and you have what? Reaffirmed yourself in this reality, and it rejuvenates, then that is what? Wouldn't that be the power of it all? That would be the truth. That's the ultimate truth, right? So be careful with certain words, because they end up, they're not really builds. They're fragments, they're sayings, you know what I mean? And stuff like truth to power, that's not from us. That's not from us, you know? Wise you said today's math is wisdom, understanding, all being born to power, refinement, the proper way to instruct a clear image of your force and energy to get things done in an orderly fashion, so that nothing is confusing from 1 to 9, so you can continue to properly add on. The proper way, that would be the wisdom, to instruct a clear image of your force. That would be the understanding, right? The clear image. So the way and the clarity, right? The way and its clarity in an orderly fashion. Okay. Yeah. I see that. This I would love some type of example there. You know, because remember, anytime you say, you know, your build, you have to be prepared that somebody would ask you, well, how does that work out in real life? You know, what would I? Well, how would that go? You know, because you didn't say interesting choice. You said the proper way to instruct, not construct. I don't know if that's on purpose. You know? The that means the wisdom is informing the direction of the understanding, something like that. But the use of the word instruct versus construct is it changes that, or it makes it distinct. So I don't know if that's on purpose. Let me know. I don't know if that's on purpose. If that's a typo or something like that. Either or. I don't know. I don't think it's wrong. I don't think it's wrong. I just think it leads more inquiry in the mind, like what would make sense out of that and how it goes. It's very intriguing. Okay. Okay, LT. That's peace. When I interesting build, Malik. I mean, that's really like a personal build, and I see it. When I move wisdom, many get some clarity on my reality of being paralyzed, and see my strength and ability to influence. That's peace, LT. Okay. All right, LT. All right. Anybody else with any builds or any questions? Like I do need updates where everybody's at so I can know what I can go into and stuff. Okay. Okay, Wiser, you said just instruct my son to question me on the sprint until it was clearly seen in the present of now and to show and prove his power by completing things done from cleaning the Tyson shoes. I see you, Wiser. That's good. That's good stuff. That's good stuff. So instruct was definitely deliberate, and I said like either or. I would have. It just changes the direction, but it's still a correct direction, and it's insightful. You know. Quartice, you said, what is the concept of renewing one's history? Is this restating one's intentions, in or in the true history? Okay, the true history book of Medina firstborn Saeem says that every month he would write out 120 to renew, just refresh his history. And so I try to understand significance. Was that something that had been spoken about? Was that just his level of discipline or approaching to memorize and staying sharp? Or was it your take on, or what is your take on? Renewing your history is just that, refreshing yourself, going back to what is most useful. In this case, 120, right? It's a lot, so people don't always remember every degree. They remember the degrees that they use the most, and you forget other degrees. So you have to constantly renew that history. You know what I mean? But the concept of renewing the history as well. Okay, Malik. Um, in the daily use by gods, renewing your history is often referred to 120 and memorizing degrees. You know what I'm saying? Um, in the daily use, I don't have much use for that personally. I very rarely say that. You know what I mean? And it's not because I don't need the refresh or something like that. That's far from the truth. Um, it's a phrase I don't care for too much as it's developed over the years, because it shows that like somebody hasn't done anything. It's more of a highlight of like, yes, I know I haven't done anything. But so I don't really know how. I don't know how I would use renewing my history, other than in a negative fashion in daily life. Um, but really, to me, it's really about writing your history in advance. You know what I mean? And I think if it had a positive context, renewing your history, it would be maybe you always go back to 120. You always go back to certain books that are crucial every year. Certain foundational techniques, like um, martial arts, like getting that horse stance right and things like that. You know what I mean? So um, renewing your history also in a more positive sense really is about all of the things that you've added on and the depth that you've gotten to go back to the simplicity of the beginnings of learning. And a lot of that is often best revisited by teaching, and us being poor righteous teachers, we ideally are in that context of doing that, right? Jarrell, you said, I hope that answers Quantis. So a really good question. You always ask great questions. Jarrell, you said peace. Today's math is wisdom, understanding, all being born to power. How one acts upon what is comprehensively seen is then incorporated to the framework of sustainable potential when living mathematics. Wow, these guys are impressive, right? My build and absolute truth. I didn't have time to watch the video with reality and what he had said, so I don't remember exactly what he said. Um, so I don't know. Um, as far as uh, the build, I need clarity on knowledge and wisdom always exists. If that's what he's saying, I always, to me, all mathematics existed at all times. You know what I'm saying? Something is always being, something is always there, and something is always being used. Everything is always in motion, and so you don't even see the motion. You know, it's particular moments that we take note of for something else for it to become new. So before there was the universe, right? The made and grown planets and stars, there was always thought, and that thought was always valid and always useful in creating something. Okay, we just don't, right now we don't have the knowledge, or not privy to the knowledge just yet, or and pop a lot of that has to do with the ability to fathom a concept before, right? Just like I said, fathoming a reality where the Caucasian didn't exist is a truth in history. But we also have to understand that it's hard to actually fathom correctly because we don't know that existence personally, right? But knowledge and wisdom always existed, really technically, because all the degrees existed. Mathematics always existed. Something was always being taken to born, but it's in what type of physical reality or what type of mental reality are we talking about? Would always be different, unique, change, or not comprehensible to us right now as we know it. Mecca Bees, you said peace, Sunez. Okay, we agree, God, but not because my understanding has changed. Sometimes we start in the outer to get to the core. The expression is not always relayed the best through our typings. Then you for the thank you for the insight. No, that's no problem. Yeah, yeah. There's no problem. There's no problem with that. It just got me into a thing about that phrase. You know what I mean? That phrase or that usage. So I understood what you were saying. You know what I mean? I just don't say power is the truth because it's taken as a definitive. You know, as and it's become like a definitive for that degree, which I don't agree with. I don't agree with being definitive for that degree only. All right. Uh, Financial education, a topic in this cipher. It is if somebody has a question, but I will tell you this though. You know, I keep it real. I am my entire life. I have been a writer, an editor, a teacher, and you know, I am not the one to teach you how to become rich. You know, when we talk about poor righteous teachers, we talk about someone that not necessarily has to be poor financially, but certainly is one that sacrifices. And in my life, though, I've been willing, and I got into this already knowing that the way I live my life, I would be sacrificing much, you know, as far as financial reality. Like so, like this access to things, for example, that people don't have with the vaccine. I mean, that's not. I'm very comfortable with sacrifices of many natures. So it's not something that that is not new to me. You know what I'm saying? But in any classroom, the measure, and this is a side note, the measure of the quality of the teacher is not always where they know everything, right? But whether they have a command of what they don't know, and if they have a very good referential, um, repository in them to direct you to where you can actually get answers. You know what I mean? Um, I would hope that that would be more the strength that I have, even when I don't know. You know, That's true, Maccabees. I definitely renew your history must be first reminded of it, right? Sometimes we forget many instances of our life. Also, too, in the way that we research and study, we can also deliberately activate a reminder. All the students to have their own journals, okay? Because you can go look back on them and look at what you did. Also, we get into whatever we're creating. Look at your past creative works and the things that you have done. Okay, this is all important for retrospect. You know, hell, you know, we're not into holidays and stuff, but we do start a new year, and we go by the mathematics. We use the mathematics of this Gregorian calendar. So we use that pattern that everybody else is subject to too, which gives it a lot of power, not just because we're using it, but because the whole world is subject to using the patterns. And at the end of the year, I'm one much about looking back at what you've done for that particular year, learning to plan, write your history in advance, but also looking back in retrospect and see the quality of what you did in all its worth. You know what I mean? Right. Maccabees, you said we can then rewrite it by extracting the best part, putting it in use nowadays, using it to maybe help others. Indeed, indeed. Born reality, Maccabees, right? Have you knowledge 120? It's because I don't know. You know. Malik, you said he was saying the knowledge, man, and wisdom existed simultaneously. Oh, this is something different. Okay. Um, there are there are gods of who think that woman was made just like the grafted man was. I personally don't agree with that. Um, I'm forgetting which book it was. What the name of the book? Something. Um, but some gods even bear witness that woman is literally a weak man, weak cipher man, and that man became weak, and then that particular man degenerated into what is the woman. So it's almost like that was like the original, like just exiled grafting process. Um, I've even read, I forget the god, he returned to the essence. He wrote a book about it too, and out of all the books, wonderful books he wrote, I really vehemently disagreed with that. Um, I don't, because it's like then when you decide to procreate with that weak cipher man, I mean, it has such homoerotic concepts to it. It's just pretty gross. But yeah, I can't. Like she became that weak cipher man, breast and sagged into breast. So but I just can't see it. I can't see a woman just being some just like degenerated man. I mean, it's disgusting, because the woman's body is beautiful. You know what I mean? And it's its own unique reality. I don't see it. You know what I mean? And what's interesting too is that we have to be honest though and say that the woman's body physically is much more complex than the man. So if the woman is basically just original man degenerated without grafting, just degenerated over time, um, how did her body become more complex technically? That's stupid. It doesn't make any sense. You know what I mean? Um, so I do agree with the God on that concept that knowledge and wisdom existed simultaneously. It goes for me mathematically, but also as far as supreme mathematics, as I was saying before. But also too is that I think all things that are created are initiated by the mind of the original man and then become reality. So his mind activates, and I don't bear witness that we just think and nothing happens. Every single thought has its reaction automatically. Okay, so the mathematical process of supreme mathematics is initiated at all times. You cannot stop it. When we talk about one, knowledge, 2, wisdom, 3, and we break them and we talk about them separately. You know what I mean? That is a teaching tool. You know what I mean? That is not actual reality. In reality, none of this stuff is separate. It is in the way we analyze things and find the details, the for our own lives. You can see the fractures and the splits and where the mistakes were, where we could build. This is for analytical purposes. But nothing is really done in that clipped fashion. Nothing happens in the clipped fashion of 1, 2. It doesn't work that way. You know what I mean? There are no gaps. They are seamless. You know what I mean? They have infinite detail within, right? 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, and so on, if you mathematically, but they are seamless, so thank you, Dawood. Yes. Okay, Dawood, that's right. Dawood, he was great. You know what I mean? He was such a builder. I'd like to think, I'm not sure, because he published so many books. I think only Saladin has probably published more books in our nation, like just publishing books. I can't say I have all of his books. That's right. He returned to the essence when he was down there. That's right. But the last book he wrote on that, I read all of the books I bought him. I think I have about 5 or 6 of his books. I loved all of them. That one I appreciated it because he shared a very challenging build, but I felt it was mainly, I don't want to say that it has a lot of hatred toward the woman, but it's hard not to read that in that book. You know what I mean? And I just don't see it. You know what I mean? It is Dawood. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. It is him. You ever get anyone get a hand on his books, though, they're all worth buying. You know what I mean? Even that one, because I think it's called The Goddess Syndrome. I don't think any of his books are sold like on the internet or anything like that. Yeah, if you write The Goddess Syndrome in Google, it does come up, but I don't see where anybody could actually purchase the book. Let me see. Just check. Yeah, it's listed in Amazon, but it's not available. Yeah. Yeah, his books are listed, but they're not available. Yeah, but I didn't agree with the book. I thought it had lots of holes. And I never argue with it about it with him because I didn't think it was necessary. If I have to argue about that, I mean, I think he really went off. I think it is a build that was off the rails. You know what I mean? You're saying that, Malik. My build in absolute truth. I don't remember having a build in absolute truth, or is that what it was called? You know, like in my mind, I don't have it named like that. You know what I'm saying? I know that was a video. A clip that was from one of my classes and stuff. You know what I mean? This is yeah, I have to renew my own build because I don't remember what I actually said there. Okay. Let me see. Rome, peace. Positive energy activates constant. Indeed. Mr. G1, peace, God. The very powerful individuals or groups of men in society strive to keep knowledge for themselves by keeping people ignorant and silencing people who speak the powerful truth. Certainly, you know. Those same very wealthy individuals, Mr. G1 continues, says, an elite strive for power, hence the old adage, knowledge is power. The discovery of or access to knowledge, which is the truth, is power that yields ability and influence. Okay, I see that. No disagreement with that. Let me see if I can remember. The presence of coincidence is a scholarly method, okay? But it is not a definitive conclusion. Okay? So the presence of repetition in history, the presence of cycles repeating themselves in history, doesn't necessarily prove anything. But a good scholar looks at them, takes pride, gives a precedent. I'm just throwing it out there because there's nothing that I'm going to say here that there's nothing I can say here that will be absolute truth to you unless you go show and prove it yourself. There's only absolute truth to me. Oh, okay. But it's you for yourself. I would say this. What is the absolute truth? I would say that we're teaching here, that we're learning here, that we're studying here. The absolute truth is ourselves. The absolute truth begins with the idea that when we say, who's the creator, we say that there is no mysterious being, energy, or force that causes our reality. So I'm saying that we are the creators in our own creation. So we have created creation as creators. Creation inspires us to create again. We are learning from our creations. Continue to create. So we do. So we do. I'm going to say that for say it. Yeah, I guess because of Mecca, he kind of gave it that name. So it is what I consider. I do, I do consider it the absolute truth. So I will build on that real quick. The Lilith book, the Goddess Syndrome. That's the name of it. Right. Okay, I'll build on it in a little bit, Malik. You know, Mr. G, when you make a point there, knowledge and data is the number one commodity. Absolutely. You know what I'm saying? What do you think is going on with this experiment of the vaccines? It's experimental. It's designed. They don't know if it'll work, but by forcing on the populace, it is a great. It yields so much information that people will do things if told it works. That lack of information, that people will have a lack of information and will believe the media that they engage with, whatever side, whether it's the leftist media or the liberal media or it's the conservative media, that they are getting information, whether you live or die or suffer massive adverse effects, right? For the majority of people, and this is true. Like getting the vaccine, if you got the vaccine, just think about it for a minute. How much research did you do? And did your research just include watching a news program that you're okay with their other opinions about things? See? So you see the thing there. You didn't, and I mean you rhetorically. Did you make a decision of the source you were going to go to based on whether they have a good scholarly method, or was it based on they have a consistency of agreement on their opinions about social and political issues? which is completely different. It's completely different from the type of information validation that you needed, validation of source that you needed. How many people, and I'm talking about like us in the nation, like this is where, if we want to talk about renewing and refresh ourselves, and for those that know, like I know some that did and stuff like that, and I know their reasons, and I know what they did, and they know what they did wrong. But I'm just putting it out there because it's harsh and it has to be put out there. How many of the peer-reviewed studies did you read? Did you know that? Did you find anything odd that all of a sudden you saw Bill Gates saying that we need vaccines last year around mid 2020, right? Once I saw him, I knew something was up. And then I started to really start researching. Right? Once you see the devil, start researching. See? And that's why personally I didn't like Trump as president. He caused a lot of confusion. You know, he blurred the lines even more. And the truth is, as we've seen, by blurring the lines didn't really help. It actually made people redefine the lines even stronger. He's the bad guy. He's the good guy. He's this. Confusion doesn't, see, a lot of people think like, oh, you know, Trump is president. It'll cause more confusion and chaos and it'll be good. Stop confusing the presence of confusion as a way to bring about peace. I don't remember that in any of the things that Allah taught ever. Any of the elders that taught me, they never taught me that bringing more confusion to a cipher helps eliminate the cipher of confusion and or steer it on a path toward peace, the absence of confusion. So when we think of it like this, right? This entire concept of knowledge and its access, its ability, the collection of it, a lot of information is being collected. And so you need to spend time, whether you took it or not, on why you didn't, why you did. And even if you didn't take it, you have family that took it. So now we have to work at really trying to figure out how we can restore the health that might possibly degrade because of it in the future. The truth is that the entire world has suffered massive disaster capitalism, and they utilized a disaster, amplified it purposefully. And this is where we're at. Now, when I say absolute truth means the truth that is right and exact regardless to whom or what. Right? Regardless to whom or what. And so for me, the requisite knowledge of self means that one has to come to a reality that there is no mystery God. And not through trillions of years of research, right? But just an ounce of logic. That whatever is made, we have never encountered anything that we have made that we did not make. And so we spend it with the type of scientific method that goes in the opposite direction of looking for mystery and saying that, listen, let us work under the scientific assumption that everything is created by a process of work, a process of thought that leads to engaged work. And so we can say that everything has its own origin or an ever origin, meaning that it has always been, right? And then that absolute truth is that the creator has always been creating. He has always been creating in the mind the reality that he will live, and has always been creating in his own creation, because himself is his own creation. And so everything he puts around himself is his own creation. So the creator is in his own creation, creating creation, inspired by the creations that he makes, and thus working to what? Create anew again. So the creator is inside of his creation. Right? This is what I teach. And that's why I say it's the absolute truth. This is what I teach. There are a lot of materials. Thank you for that. There are a lot of materials. I was pointing people toward the massive documents, the collected documents that became a 1,200 page ebook that Supreme Understanding published. And that could be gotten free if you go to his website. Right? We have to research these things. Okay. And that doesn't mean that if you don't take it, though, you still have work to figure out, how do we help our people if they have. 793, you said ways, actions, and thinking drawn up in proper order, applied to my resultant clarity once properly activated. Sources, the original thoughts, motivation, or conditioned energy within my reality. Okay. I'm assuming that is your build on today's math, which is strong. It's good. Very good. 793, you said was doing announced to give some living working examples. And when you said about the creator creating and seeing the truth as well as power within that journey, took the words out of her mouth, so to speak. Peace. Appreciate that. That's peace, guy. That's peace. Indeed, yeah. Yeah, in my head, it's not really named that. You know what I'm saying? I say it's an absolute truth, but as I was saying it there because I was with the students at that time that it was done, I was being very, very definitive about what I teach. You know what I mean? But certainly is, yeah. I guess I'll have to call my understanding the that's my absolute truth. Questions, questions, questions. BC Brown, peace. You know what, too, about social media that I find social media doesn't allow one to develop one's thoughts very well. Also, understanding, like, when you say wisdom, understanding, born power, a lot of times the real power of your understanding is developed over time. It needs a lot more wisdom. You have to take a lot that you're using and continue to apply it to the understanding that you have to really gain some traction to it, to make it really powerful. And with the social media, people have a good thought and idea and they share it immediately. we don't really know how to gauge those. A lot of times, especially we get knowledge, and a lot of people that aren't, this is the truth, they're not writers and they've never been published. So they don't know the difference between thoughts that are long dealt with, and then thoughts that are going to be as good as they can get at that moment, and useful at the moment. A lot of people I see, especially with this knowledge, they throw out deeper ideas that probably should be held longer for a really great understanding, that probably shouldn't just be thrown out to any old body on the internet. And yet they do that, so it's, I find that interesting. It's really not the right thing to do. And wisdom on today's, I see that in today's math, you know what I mean? That not your understanding isn't always going to be very powerful, but the more wisdom that you add to it, the more usefulness that you add to it, the more useful knowledge that you add to it, it can reach that point of having real great power. And then where are you going to unleash that power is also key, That part 793 says, then they also can rarely show and prove what they're talking about. Yeah. And then also too, not get into these crazy arguments and builds. What I found mostly is that whenever I really got into a back and forth on a Facebook with somebody that's in a nation or something like that, a lot of these arguments really had nothing to do with really building. They really had to do with people really hoping that they could finally find a forum where they could take me down or put me back in my place, or what the fuck they thought I meant was meant to be. Not really doing analysis that, like, a written form, that's not really where you're gonna sun me. You know what I mean? Like, right? So that's not really it's not really where you're gonna do it. Malik, you said when we took everything except his language, was it his lying? Was it his lying mastering the original man, telling lies? What's interesting is that we didn't take his language. You know what I'm saying? So what that means is that when we exiled them, we allowed them the ability to communicate that they were. You know what I mean? We didn't disable them from life. It's a really big deal. Language is crucial. Scholars of language and stuff like that, whether they be Noam Chomsky or Ivan Van Sertima, they say that a lot of the truth lies in language. Language carries a lot of the truth very much farther than a lot of other archaeological factors. And when you take a people right? And you strip them of everything except their own language, it means that you're still giving them the humanity to communicate in the way that they saw fit, you know, which means that you also allow them to develop a culture as they see fit. You see, we got stripped of everything, you know what I'm saying? And we got stripped of our language too, you know what I mean? Right? And that became a constant thing in all ways, whether we go back to slavery or we even go back to things like colonialism. Like, look at how it's affected people. Like, language is stripped of the indigenous in Puerto Rico, and then they had to speak Spanish, right? And then when we finally made our own identity and thought of revolution in that context, then we get colonized and taken over by America, and then they deliberately take away or fight against to take away the language that we've already made our own. So it's a way to stop the culture, the transmission of culture, as you see fit, the way that you see it. That's why it's so important that the one of the greatest things the Father gave us was supreme math and alphabet, because the supreme alphabet is really what it enables the language, the math and alphabet. You know what I mean? It gives us a dialect. It gives us a way of connecting things. Then applied to a framework of very, very rare information with its own coded language as well. Um, you know, we have a way of living our culture. So language is very crucial. You know, now I don't think that what's meant in the degree is that we allowed him to keep his language of lying. That was his nature. That was his nature. And for those that were exiled, the way I was taught by Now Is Me, they were the ones that were already fooled. So they had the responsibility of exiling them. They weren't going to be listening to them. They just weren't taking away their language. To take away someone's language means that you have to take the time to strip them of it. You have to take the time to teach them a new language that takes away their ability to do that. That's not what was done with them. They were left like that to go up into the Caucasus Mountains. So they were just exiled. They weren't stripped of the language. In other words, they weren't stripped of their ability to live out the type of reality that they were living, right? So wherever they were exiled, they could continue to do devilishment, though, in that what rope around the hillside, you know. But yeah, so it's a little different, you know. That's a really good question. You know, it's a really good question. You know. Indeed, our understanding has to grow and develop. Certainly is a living thing, right? And yes, it is corny, niggas on the internet, you know. In fact, for me personally, Facebook is probably I use Facebook, I interact on Facebook the least. Um, and I try not to interact with people that are just throw hot takes on Twitter, because I'm not going to argue people's, you know. And one of the reasons is that I make my own forums, you know what I'm saying? If you're arguing about the knowledge itself or ideas like that on the internet, it also shows that you're not really going out there and really teaching anybody this stuff, you know? Why is you okay? All right. G1, yeah, I have read War Against All Puerto Ricans. There's some controversy on that book. They say some of the things are wrong in there. Um, what I don't, I think that, and I agree. I think that some of the parts that are wrong in War Against All Puerto Ricans are a lot of the minute details that he adds. Like people don't really accept that he found those minute details about certain things, but the general realities about our oppression and the major aspects are all good. So especially the histories about Campos, Pedro Bizu Campos, and the overall freedom movement. So it's definitely a worthwhile book. Now, little details like the naysayers, like little details about the the early mayors and things like that. Um, they didn't find people find fault because it's not really it's not well referenced, right? But I don't think so. I don't think that destroys the merit of the book. You know what I mean? You know, I read a lot of biographies, and a lot of times I wonder how people make these assumptions about people's mentalities. Not autobiographies, but biographies. You know what I mean? And technically, a lot of autobiographies are considered incorrect too, because the person writing the autobiography though has such a personal perspective that it's not the only perspective to tell the whole story. But that's expected and accepted. So but it's used as a way to dismiss things often. Like especially Miles Davis, Billie Holiday. Who's another person in my head? There are two who wrote autobiographies that people have dismissed, which I think is crap. But obviously, to get the whole story, especially of Billy, it helps to read other perspectives. But I don't think it works if you start at another point except hers. You have to start with hers. You know. So it's again, the point being that War Against All Puerto Ricans is a very good book. If anybody wants to read that, I can send it to you. But absolutely worthwhile though to read, definitely. All right. Is lying taught or is it organic? I think this, right? And I take a martial arts perspective out of it. A lot of the ways that as a martial artist, I'm taught how to defend myself with the abilities that I have, and then at that moment, and also to develop more abilities. The truth is that a lot of the abilities to defend yourself are based on deception. Okay? They're based on the confusion of what you don't see. Even someone that shoots a gun, though, it is very deceptive. It's hard to see. In this case, the distance by which you can shoot somebody is part of the deception. There is always deception and protection. You see? So lying can become organic because there there is a way that the human mind and that people react in general to defend themselves against what they consider to be an enemy. You see? Or if we reverse that to what they consider to be their survival. In this case, if we say the devil is weak and wicked, he was made weak and thus wicked. So the level of weakness that they are created is at such an extreme level that they react weakly in the engagement of culture. So they will defend themselves with lies even when it doesn't seem to be appropriate because they are so weak. they go into that lowest common denominator as you go along. See? But when we talk about lying, we talk about all types of deception and confusion, so that the image in someone else's mind that you are dealing with gets a false picture of what you know to be a different reality. Remember I said, well, you know to be a different reality. Kung Fu, have a spear, but at the tip of the spear, I have a thick feather. And when I move that spear, that feather also waves, causing confusion in the eye of the opponent. So he has trouble locking into that spear. You see? This is also could be seen, though, as a way of deception in a regular person's speech. They don't know if they were able to sequester that food, clothing, and shelter unless they deceive the mind of the other person, because they have no way of getting it. They have no way of securing it, or maybe even protecting what they have. And what happens with the weak is that it is prone to wicked, because now that they will preemptively do this, use this style of protection. So even an act as lying isn't essentially always just bad. You see, it just is. See? And so in a world where we have to defend ourselves against devilishment, what is the deception that we use to protect ourselves? See? Very intriguing thing to think about. You guys got me looking at these old videos of my class on things. I didn't know I got so many dislikes, man. I love it. It's so crazy, though. You know, someone was telling me that I need more trolls, though. It could be a positive thing. You know what I mean? Like, it'd be awesome. It's funny. I think the most hate I got was for the video take on weed. You know, I think people just mad that I don't smoke it. You know what I mean? Right? I got a lot of hell because, you know, no, you know what? I know how to play. I know how to play poker. I don't gamble, though. I don't gamble. You know, I learned how to play poker and card games from my father, and I just do it for fun. You know what I mean? But I don't really play with people. You know what I'm saying? I don't. You know. Complete God unlock. Give me a complete sentence with that. Use trick knowledge, because I'm a little off on what you want me to answer. 793, environment and survival. The tassel on certain swords as well. No. Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Whether the tassel is always based on like confusion, you know, because the hand, like where would you cannot concentrate on the tip of the sword, so you try to get a feel for the opponent by his hand. The tassel for the causes a delay in the sight, so it causes confusion. You know what I mean? Yeah. Dislikes from Muslims. You know what I'm saying? And I don't encounter too many Muslims. You know what I mean? I've never had NOI people challenge me or anything like that. You know, a lot of team though. Whatever. Yeah. You know. Oh, indeed, sticky hands. Yeah, indeed, Creed. Indeed. Yeah, all of these are crucial, but we have to come to it like we have to say like trick knowledge though is in general now where it you're taking the justification for survival. Mind you, the grafted have a justification to survive by any means because they don't have the ability to do otherwise, right? However, you know, let me go back then. Complete God Allah, you said you were confused. Thank you for letting me know. This idea of what was asked, is lying taught or is it organic? It's a great question. Um, Lying, anything can be taught, but it doesn't mean that lying is not an organic thing. You know what I'm saying? Um, we're the true and living God, and we kind of assume that righteousness is the only pole that we have. You know what I'm saying? That that's not a pole. Okay, righteousness is not a pole. It's relativity because it's completely relative. So it's not a pole. You know, like in other words, this it gets confused with the ideas of good or bad. Righteousness means that we look at all circumstances and to the best of our ability we do what promotes mathematics to go ahead. So it is righteous though. But if I was defending myself and I use something that causes deception, right? Then what happens is that I'm technically constructing some type of lie in that opponent or that opponent's head, right? To deceive. So the use of lying is taking place, right? So look at this beyond just the concept of speaking, because someone in real life might have to lie to defend themselves, right? Simple. Somebody says, "Hey, you got any money?" And you got money, and and you're like, "No, I don't have any money." And you show your pockets and everything. You don't have anything, but you have a secret compartment somewhere, and you ain't telling them about that. And so you survive. You know what I mean? You survive. You know what I mean? Um, uh, right. So the lying, though, isn't itself the massively immoral act. It is the way that it is preemptively used to say that the devil is not going to build himself up. You see, one of the things about the weak leading to wickedness is that once they become wicked, they are not going to build themselves up to be strong. What they are going to do, right? So they take no efforts to build themselves up to overcome the negativity of the grafting. What they are going to do is actually deal with that weak state and embrace it and force everyone else to come down to the level. So now harm is going to be preemptively put upon others to equalize the field by pushing down as opposed to what? Raising themselves up. You see? And that's why when we say the devil is weak and wicked, right? It is not guaranteed that every grafted man or any man of that lineage, Caucasian, westernized white man, is going to be a devil, because we we have seen that not every single one is going to what? Just deal with the state that they're in, but actually work to build themselves up with what? Levels of integrity, levels of willing to sacrifice, and willing to fail, right? At the hand of the righteousness of the principle, meaning that they will go by the principle, even if they cannot achieve the principle, right? Which is one of the most, which is really the honor of it all. Word is bond, right? That's what that means, right? So, when you have these degrees, do not look at them as so rigidly. Look at them in the instance of real people. You know what I'm saying? Right? And yet, not all snakes, they're all snakes, but yet some snakes, right, are worthy of imitation. So, you know what I mean? But yeah, that's true. That's true, right? And certainly snakes is just really a metaphor, you know what I mean? The truth is that all animals survive by deception. All of them. You know what I mean? We see the majestic lion, but the lion has to creep up to his prey and then burst out. You know what I mean? Even the cheetah doesn't just start saying, "Oh, wait, I gotta go get something," and starts running immediately and just runs until he catches some. No, they wait until they get that burst of energy, right? And they get as close as possible to their prey, right? So the entire reality of the animal world is based on deception, right? There's a comforting thought, right? But of course we mean here, like, the context on a larger level. You know what I mean? Oh, okay. Well, we would hope so, right? Uh, I have not seen Apocalypto. 793, you said it's in their genes. It's in their genes, survival wise, as big cats and animals prey, still except like the same one, stalk and deceptive tendencies, even when they're never killed to eat. Very true. Very true. The setting is in the Yucatan about an original called Jaguar Paw. It's fictional and sure, however, it presents the reality of survival in the wilderness. Hmm. When you empty the mind, you become one with your situation. Right, complete got the thing is emptying the mind is horrible. Horrible. It's hard. It's hard to do. It means that it's almost impossible to do. That's I said horrible and I meant hard and and nearly impossible. Um, the concept is that when you meditate, you let those thoughts go. So no one really technically empties the mind. Instead, they can let go of the constant flurry of thoughts and not be guided into a thought pattern so easily. And that's why meditation is really built on originally letting thoughts go. Just let them go, and then you won't be focused on it. But Creed, you said do. Let me see if that was okay. Do wuxi empty mindedness means improve on fighting and shadow boxing empty mindedness. It's very similar to the concept of the no mind. You know what I mean? That that you can let all that go. Is really the point. You know, and you're just reacting. You're not thinking of, and it lets go of the feelings that would come up. You know what I mean? Light visible. That sounds weird. Have I ever heard of 26 Z being anything other than zigzag zig? I mean, it means knowledge, wisdom, understanding, though. That's what it is. Zigzag zig means knowledge, wisdom, understanding. And no, I've never heard of it being anything else because it's not. Creed, it doesn't eliminate strategy. It's more about letting it become more. It's about the fluidity of things. You know what I mean? I don't know if that was mentioned here because someone had said that very well. But see, the thing is that the way I see it, Creed, is that massive preparation will actually lead to the choices that are right and exact being made instinctually. So they're ingrained in you. You know what I mean? They're ingrained in you. You know? I mean, look, the Wing Chun dummy, that's the whole point of it, though, is that certain ways of moving in the interior are so ingrained that when something comes, you tend to move correctly and not just swat at it. You move correctly. You know what I mean? And that's what that means. You know what I mean? I remember that movie. I never seen it though. You know? Yeah, yeah. Light visible. I don't know who said that or what they were proposing is actually different or something else. But yeah, I never heard of that. Right. Thank you. All flow, no force. Right, right, right. And the flow is the force itself, though. It is force, really. But it's not a challenging force. It glides. It's like, literally water. Now that's peace, light, visible. Yeah, yeah. A lot of mixing, diluting, tampering. Like people be coming up with some crazy shit. You know what I mean? You know, the best fighters produce fear. You know what I'm saying? The best fighters produce fear in the opponent, and a lot of times that's why, the bigger the opponent, how, angry, mean looking, these are all aspects that do that cause the fear. Well, Ali wasn't scared. Yeah, yeah. I was thinking of Mike Tyson too. I'm actually reading Mike Tyson's autobiography now. It's really great. Um, mhm. That was something. A lot of the crazy stuff, not a lot. 99% of the crazy stuff that Mike Tyson said was actually stuff that Customato would say to him. You know, people treat Mike Tyson like a dumb nigger, but he actually was very smart. Or is very smart. And because of his life with Customato, though, he actually, became well read and things, and really studied his craft. And became well read about a lot of different books other than that. Hmm. Yeah, Customato was a real. He had a real genius mind. A lot of intriguing thoughts. $79.30. You said we used to study them vids we tape coming up off the Mike fights in real time, even after the fight brawl set off by the bodyguard with the hat on. Yeah. And I'm not really a great student of boxing. You know what I'm saying? And even when as I became a martial artist, I don't study a lot of professional fighting. Um, and it's only because those athletes are not really my body type, you know. And even in the weight classes of my body type, the way I learned kung fu, the limitations of the actual sport, I don't always learn as well. You know what I'm saying? But there's a lot to learn from boxing, certainly though. So it's just really been my own particular uh, ism to not get the most out of that. It certainly doesn't mean that I won't, continue to try to get more out of it. You know. No, not me, not me. I didn't, I didn't really, you know. Right. Yes, I did say, yeah. I mean, all good fighting, right? Let me say this though, Creep. All really good fighting, all martial good fighting, you you can see the circles everywhere, right? But a lot of it isn't overtly designed to emphasize that the fighter themselves are regenerating themselves in a circle, you know. So like even with good boxing, to me, an uppercut is a circle. You know what I mean? Because I see the curve, right? I see the curves and all the even the straight. If it's only straight and doesn't regenerate, then it's too linear. But even Wing Chun punches, people see it straight. But what I'm seeing though is the circle here. This circle is is what's being emphasized in the mind. You know what I mean? So it's about when you see good fighting, it's what circles are you seeing, and then whether what makes an art linear or dealing more in a cipher or circular as the Eastern. It's really the emphasis that the fighter is taught in their mind. You know, so even the West the more linear approach fighting styles, when they are done to me to perfection, it's because they see the linear. You know, Floyd, the way he moves, I see the circles, I see the half circles, semicircles. Like you just see a lot of I see all the curves in the moves, you know. 793, what we said, what we find ourselves doing is studying the atmosphere, intimidation, and fear, and he constantly wanted to exude through his production way before Don King got involved with the gift horse. Yeah, yeah. Um, Complete. You said a boxing uppercut is different from a Wing Chun uppercut. Um, Wing Chun doesn't have particular punches except for the Black Tiger punch. So every other punch though is going to be adapted. So it could have an uppercut. You know what I'm saying? What's more, no punch, every punch can be used, and certainly the uppercut, because if it's inside, if it's inside this cipher here, then the uppercut works. The only thing about Wing Chun is that things don't come from the outside; things come from inside. You know what I mean? So wing uppercut certainly would work. You know what I mean? As it, within the principles. So it's all in there. It's all in there. You know. And of course, though, with the larger realities of kung fu, any proper punch um, is thing. The real focus of Wing Chun is really that nothing is thrown unless it could lead to defense. So that's where a lot of boxing, typical Marcus of Queensberry, is not used, because a lot of blows are harder to lead to a defense. You know what I mean? The generating that's needed to get one big blow leaves a lot open. You know what I mean? So it wouldn't be done. It would be done this way, and for repeat value, right? Right. So um, Wing Chun is really designed though for the the someone with no athletic ability, no real natural physical talent, and still could thrive. Whereas other martial art forms are designed though for the exceptional fighter to really excel at. You know, that's the major difference though. You know, a lot of 52 blocks though is really becomes Wing Chun, because they say so wrapped on the cipher that's from here to here, and that's from Wing Chun. They didn't invent that; it's reinventing the wheel. The only thing, I don't do 52 stuff, because 52, it's the panache that goes with 52. You know what I mean? Um, it's almost it baits. It does a lot of baiting. You know what I mean? And because of that, though, it also could waste. You know, if you criticize it compared to Wing Chun, it could waste a lot of energy in the baiting or things like that. You know what I mean? So again, though, technically, to me, the 52 even um, also exploits the naturally faster, more comfortable person. You know, right? If you think about that, you'll know what I mean. Though. You know? Because simply put, though, 52 has a lot of hot dogging in it. You know, it does. There's no way around that. I did. We did. I just talked about peace, God, self mastery. I did. From Chi Kong set. I don't know if I seen Crane and Snake from Chi Kong set. I don't know. I don't think so. I think the most important thing for fighting though is to have is try to develop a style of fighting for yourself that um emphasizes your body type. You know what I mean? And is renewed as you develop your body into new types. You know what I mean? I haven't seen too much Manga, but it seems very effective. Um, Again, it's a lot of interior. So anytime the martial art to me focuses on the interior, though, it's always worthwhile. You know, always worthwhile. Very immediate dividends and stuff. I think one of the things that people don't understand about kung fu in general, right, is that to me, if you were doing Wing Chun, you wouldn't just be kind of doing Wing Chun. That's not the way I learned. Um, but the whole umbrella of kung fu, which includes Wing Chun, it's not just a fight style that is going to be effective for the opponent, but also this ability to ever be developing fight abilities. So there are moves and there are techniques and there are styles that are really made to develop your fight abilities. They can be used in fight situations, but they're also highly effective and may not be good in fight situations for the individual, but always good to prepare the abilities of the person. No, so that's something that Krav Maga and a lot of these other fight styles don't have. You know, um, how do you develop that? You know, how do you develop that? That's also another thing. So that's important, though. Yeah, that sounds crazy, right? All three of them in the same room. How was that? Hmm. Right, we are. Let's see. That's actually the number. That's the way you say it. You know what I'm saying? It just so happens that's what it is. You know, I've never gotten any answers etymologically of why that's the case. You know what I mean? But I'm sure you know in a degree it's emphasized for that reason. You know, I mean that's the name of the number is literally sextillion. Like it's six sextillion. So like sextillion isn't like six sex and then tillion. The word is sextillion together. You know what I mean? The actual word. You know. Um, I have his book, and I actually don't know him. I think I don't know. I never really got to build with him. You know, some of the guys that taught I learned kung fu with though did build with him. You know, but I never met Kishan. You know, I do have his book, and I'm reading it. You know, but never met him. Like I never built with him. I may have met him, but I never really built with him. What do I do for weight training? I don't use kettlebells. You know why I don't use kettlebells? Because I weights when I don't I weight train in my home, so I always get nervous that I don't want to do anything that swings the weight. You know what I'm saying? So if I let that shit go, and I have daughters that when they, one is still little and the other's grown, but even when the other one was little, they always was around when I'm doing stuff. So I just never mess with the kettlebells because a lot of the good exercise you could do with them are swinging, and I always get nervous that I'll bust my own home up. But what I do for weights, I have like an adjustable I have adjustable 100-pound dumbbells, so they go up to 100 each, and in increments of five. I have the plates to put on them, so I have a really great flat bench press, so it only is flat bench, and so I do bench press, dumbbell bench press. I do deadlifting with the dumbbells. Deadlift with the dumbbells. I'll do all types of bicep curls of all levels. Bicep curl, biceps, triceps, and deltoid stuff. You know what I mean? Because I have weights that go through all the levels, all levels. So you know what I mean? Um, I often do when I weight train. I often do a descending set. I also use resistance bands. So like for example, my bench press set, I I have a shoulder injury, so I'm due, and I always go for consistency. I like the full body workout to do it every day. So what I've been working out is like bench pressing every single day. But when I bench press a certain weight, and then I go right into push-ups to failure, and then using the resistance bands in a bench in that bench motion, in that press motion, till failure, and then I go to the next set of dumbbell bench press. You know what I mean? I often work out that way. Like I'll do everything in that fashion. You know what I mean? So the weight training is pretty intense. You know, I do everything till failure, and I found that lifting the heaviest weight. So that I have, and I recorded myself because I knew I wouldn't do it again, or if I ever did have to prove it. But lifting the heaviest weight hasn't really been as useful as lifting a weight that I could really master into failure. You know what I mean? And have control of it over all the entire range of motion. You know? Yeah, so the weight training kind of uses all of that, the for everything, you know. And then the legs, I don't get to do squats because my I don't have enough space for my barbell to do the to have a rack and everything like that. So squats, I got into the just going for failure, not excuse me, um, just doing squats without any weights. So I get daily, I every training day I do 500 squats, and I'm doing them as best as I can. Though emphasis on the muscle. Those have really built up my leg. You know what I mean? Um, and then I also do other weighted. I have weights, leg weights. So um, I also do leg lifts and stuff like that. You know what I mean? High reps of leg lifts and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Right? And really, there's no mastery of the, to me, complete, there's no mastery of the knee per se. It's really every injury I've ever gotten leg wise is because there's not enough muscle in the required area. So it's about building up that muscle around the knee, the muscle, your quadricep, your hamstring. I used to have problems with my hamstring when I was sprinting, but then I started doing a lot weighted lifts to go backwards to get that hamstring, stronger. And then the problems dissipated. You know what I'm saying, right? And so that's really the thing. And I guess the yeah. By the way, the weight training to me is also in the abs training. You know what I'm saying? Because making the abs more stronger, more visible, right? Because I'm doing all this workout though. I don't want people to see my abs. Um, I found the most powerful is the weighted ab crunch. So where you're dipping, whether you have like the where you're doing with weights or you just put the resistance bands up, and you're on your knees and you're pulling down the ab pull down. Um, Also, I do a lot of crunches with weights. You know what I mean? Holding them up, crunches. Um, and for the obliques, a lot of use the resistance bands go sideways. You know what I mean? So a lot of weights with that too. I try to incorporate as much weights as possible into the abs, make them stronger, blockier. You know what I mean? Um, how would I describe the original woman? Well, I don't know if I describe her. Um, I have to use the exact framework there. You know what I'm saying? Um, and exactly mirror that because we could, the sustainer, the fulfiller, but uh, um, it's as simple as that yin to the yang, the what allows, the just like one is knowledge, that cipher is how I would think of a woman, her reality, you know what I mean? That which allows all infinity, that which is that, you know what I mean? Right? And keep it short though, because I'd rather you think about that for a while. I get what you're saying. I don't know how you mean that knee focus. You know what I mean? Knee focus, Right? I kind of get the concept. I just never heard that like that. Yeah, yeah. You know, high reps of squats and any kind of good squats. Like you could do all types of things, jump squats, all that kind of stuff. That really builds the strength in the leg and it makes it useful. You know what I mean? I would assume that it would start at 2 o'clock, the rally, from what I know, you know what I mean? But if you get to a lot of school at 12, it's people's gonna be there anyway. So, you know. Indeed. Okay, so we're at the end of this though. If you're any of you are interested in the martial training, Creed, we definitely got to build on that. And anything else that you need, any of the books mentioned or particular things, or if you're new to the class, and get to know me. Just get under the study if you that's what you want to do, okay, or get more information. All right, so email me. All right. With that said, peace.